And welcome back to the show. Well, there is a documentary coming out that I feel is a documentary that every person in Australia should watch, and I don't say that lightly. This is a brand new documentary called Fight to Live, and it looks at the life of someone I'm sure a lot of you out there who love sports will have heard of, Rowdy Bec Rawlings, an Australian boxer and MMA fighter who has gone on to great things right around the world. But this documentary is a documentary like no other that I'll explain a little bit, because right now on the phone we are joined by Bec. Welcome to the program, Bec.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Bec, this is such an honour being able to chat to you, because to be able to sit down and watch this documentary, I think it changed so many different things for me, because this documentary came across my desk and I was like, oh great, a sports documentary. I love sports documentaries. But this film goes a lot deeper than that, and for that, I thank you, because I think this is a very, very important film. So I have to start off by asking, how did you first get involved with this documentary?
I've been working with the producer, Tom Haramis, on some previous work with him just to do with sponsorship and things like that. And while we're doing that, we became very close. And I've obviously been very vocal about my story, how I got into the sport and my personal life that goes with it. So that's when Tom approached me at an event and said, look, I think it's really important that we get your story out there. It can help a lot of people. It can inspire a lot of people. And he thought it was a story, that needed to be told. And I said, look, if you're the expert, if you think it's something that you think will be that would help people, I'm in. So, and we kind of just took it from there. And it's he's always had faith that it was going to be an amazing documentary. And I wasn't skeptical, but I don't like to toot my own horn. Like, oh yeah, I guess I'm pretty cool, but it is an amazing documentary, and Tom Haramis did so well with it, and really told my story the right way, I believe. And I know I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait to show the world.
Definitely. Like I said in the intro, I think this is a documentary that has the potential to change a lot of people's lives. Was that something that you were kind of aware of when you first started to work on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I didn't want to do just, a normal old sports documentary, even though, what I've done in sports is pretty cool. I really wanted to show another side of myself and I guess share my story and kind of show that domestic violence can happen to anyone. When people meet me or look at me and they know what background I'm from and what I do for a living, they're like, there's no way you could be a victim of domestic violence. Like, they just can't believe it. And I think it was a really important message that I wanted to get out there, just to show that domestic violence doesn't discriminate. It can happen to even the strongest of people, someone that fights people with no gloves on or fights people in cages. It can happen to me, so it can happen to anyone. And I think it's a really important message that I'd like to get out there.
Definitely, and it is such an important time for this to come out as well. Of course, here in Victoria, we've been rocked over the past few weeks from some very, very tragic cases that have become very personal for people, even though they've been on the news and people haven't known the people involved, but it's affected a lot of people. Is that something that you've thought about as well with the filmmakers, that now is such an important time for this film to come out?
It is. I've been very vocal about domestic violence and how prevalent it is in our culture in Australia for a long time now, and it's like nearly every day you're hearing of something happening, or there's not one girlfriend that I have that has not experienced abuse from their partner, and that's really hard to say.
Yeah.
And I think something's got to change, and I think we all need to come together and figure out what we can do to prevent it or help those that are stuck in it. And I don't want to focus on just women. I know men go through domestic violence also. It's a big problem within our culture, and it goes both ways. So I definitely think it's an important time to obviously get my story out there and hope that we can provoke conversations and trying to problem solve on how we can address it and how we can fix it.
Bec, the film is going to be premiering at some film festivals before it goes into cinemas. How do you feel about the film garnishing the attention of film festivals? Because that is quite often quite rare for a sports documentary, and especially sometimes for documentaries that explore a deep topic like that. How do you feel about it opening up at some of the film festivals around Australia?
Yeah, I was blown away when I got the news that it's been accepted into it's the Inner West Film Festival and the Gold Coast Film Festival, especially when it won the Cairns Film Festival for Best Inspirational.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Myself and Tom always knew it was a brilliant documentary, but I think when it gets accepted into these festivals and wins awards, it's like, it's not just, we're not just full of ourselves, that we have something that's great, and I think it's the message that it shares and the way it makes you feel, and it's kind of surreal. It's still kind of sinking in that it's about to be shown to the world, and it's my very personal raw story, so I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
Very nervous about it, but it's going to help people. So that's like I keep telling myself, it'll be okay.
Yeah. I think that's why I admire you so much, is that you've been so honest with your story, because, of course, like even for myself hosting a radio show, there's stuff in my personal life that I've never shared on air, never told our listeners that I've been going through it and different things like that. But, of course, my close friends know. Was it a difficult experience to sit down in front of a camera and tell your story?
Yeah, it was very hard. There's moments there where I was fighting back the tears, and it was a very emotional day. And it wasn't just emotional for me; it was for the crew as well. Everyone there that was, a part of filming it. It hit them a lot too. So it was hard, but like I said, I just keep telling myself that it's a story that needs to be, that people need to hear, and it will help people. And that's why I want to do it. If I can change one person's life and help them, then it's worth it to me.
Definitely. And apart from the film festivals, the film, for all of our listeners out there, is also getting a cinema release on May 15th. I have to ask, what kind of conversations do you hope that people will have after they watch this film? Because, like I said, I think this is a film that will change people's lives. What kind of conversations are you hoping that people will have when they walk away from watching Fight to Live?
I think it will change the way that people look at victims. A lot of things is feedback that I get, or when I hear conversations about domestic violence, a lot of them are like, oh, why didn't they just leave? And I think that really opens up that kind of question, and it answers those kinds of questions, that it's not that easy to just leave. You've got to look at it from a different point of view. There's lots of different reasons as to why the victim won't leave, or why they stay, because they believe that they deserve it, or they believe that they can change the abuser. So I think that's the kind of conversation that will kind of provoke and get people talking, as to, okay, well, we know now why they won't leave or why they can't leave. How can we help them? And I think that's probably the most important question, is how can we help someone that is stuck in that situation, or how can we recognise it? Because a lot of the time it's not like we're walking out there with fat lips and black eyes, even though I was. That's because I was a fighter. So it was easy to, explain that. So I think that's the main conversations I think it will start, is how can I recognise it, or how can I help someone that I believe might be in that situation.
Definitely. And of course the film comes out as well right in the middle of a very, very important month. It comes out in the middle of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I guess, Bec, the big question is, if we suspect that someone we know is in a domestic violence situation, or someone that we know turns to us and tells us what they're going through, what should we do? Is there an organisation we can turn to, or anything like that?
That's a great question. There is a lot of help out there. A lot of charities and people that can help. But I think the main thing is, if you recognise it, or you suspect it, don't be afraid to to ask. Yep. And ask them discreetly, and just see and probe for questions, and just let them know that you're there for them, and if when you need them, it might not be now, you might not be ready to take the leap and leave, but when they are, you're there to help. Is the main question. But yes, I should get a list together of all the charities and groups out there that can help domestic violence victims. That's a really good question. I wish I had the list on me right now, but I do not.
That's all right. 1-800-RESPECT is a great place to start, I have to say, for anybody out there who is going through something like that. And also, even just a quick Google search. Like, my wife works for an organisation that works for people that are going through situations like this, and a quick Google search for your area will find something as well. Bec, away from the film for just a moment, I have to ask two things that I was left wondering about at the end of this documentary is, what is going on with your career at the moment, and also how is your beautiful family with the film coming out as well?
Oh, we are great. I think the whole family is a little bit nervous about the whole thing being released, especially the kids. There's been a lot of prepping and trying to talk to them, and because they were quite young when it all happened, so... but other than that, they're great, and I'm signed back to bare knuckle fighting championships. I had a little break and went back to Bellator MMA for a bit there, so back fighting no gloves, and I'll hopefully have a fight announcement very soon. We've just been working on it, so it's all happening. I'm in the middle of all this media tour with the documentary and training, so it's been very hectic, but I love it. I really do.
Definitely. And once again, for all of our listeners out there, if you want to see Fight to Live, it does have some film festival screenings that we will list on our website, but then it gets a general release in cinemas on May the 15th, right around Australia. So, Bec, I guess to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there who are about to sit down and watch this amazing documentary?
Strap in, bring your tissues, because it does get emotional, but... I promise you the ending is great, and you will feel inspired. Well, I hope you will feel inspired, and it will, ignite something in you to do great and go out there and follow your dreams, because you only live one life.